Hey everyone, it's Cam from Arsenal Theory, and we're doing a look back review on Arsenal 1, Man City 1, but Arsenal winning the Community Shield on penalties after 90 minutes and 12 minutes of injury time. A fantastic result for the Arsenal. Watched the whole game, got some thoughts on it. Interested to hear yours as well. But let's firstly start with the Arsenal lineups. No real big surprises, I think, in the lineup. We've stuck with Ramsdale in goal. We'll see how much longer he's going to be in goal for. With I think looked like David Raya was there in the stands as well from Brentford, so maybe that deal's quite close. We had our usual centre backs of Saliba and Gabriel, and Ben White starting on the right, and Julian Timber starting on the left. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps his place once Zinchenko is fit, but we'll come on to all that later on. In midfield, we had the Rice Party access, which looked pretty good in parts, and we had Odegaard kind of playing a bit further on from them, and we had Saka and Martinelli and Havertz up front. So he's dropped Nketiah for the game, he's gone with Havertz, and I'll come to Havertz later on. Actually, I'm going to go through the kind of how the game went and players starting from the back through to the front. But I did agree with the decision to start Kai Havertz today, and I'll explain why a bit later on. So, opening of the game, I thought Man City really sort of had fairly good control of the match. They weren't pummeling Arsenal, but they were essentially in control of what was going on. They were having good possession, knocking it around well, and Arsenal were just a little bit kind of disjointed, a bit like how we have been for a lot of this pre-season, um, for the first kind of 15, 20 minutes. And then Arsenal kind of came back in the latter stages of the first half, where we just managed to sort of just turn the pressure a bit, retain possession a bit better. And Havertz had some nice touches, and Ben White had some good overlaps as well, which created one of the big opportunities actually, where Ben White made a nice run through on the fullback, cut a ball back to Havertz, and it was a bit behind Kai Havertz, and he had a nice touch, and he did a kind of like almost like a mini pirouette, a bit like that Bergkamp goal against Leicester, just without the finish. Okay, don't get too mad at me, just without the finish. And he did a turn, and in kind of one movement, he moved the ball, turned, and hit it towards goal. It was on target. The goalie just got a foot to it, and yeah, it wasn't a goal, but it was, there was kind of inches in it really. Um, and so at the end of the first half, the game was kind of pretty evenly set. I think in terms of the first 45 minutes, I thought from the back, Ramsdale, he'd had a couple of moments, a couple of dodgy passes, but apart from that, he seemed okay. Saliba was immense, just making all the right decisions. Had Haaland kind of sewn up really. Haaland looked a bit off the pace. I'm assuming that's purely just a pre-season thing. People forget that City are a couple of weeks behind because they played so many games and their season finished so much later than the other teams because of the Champions League. So I'm fully expecting to be firing on all cylinders come in a couple of weeks' time. Um, but Saliba kind of took control of him. Gabriel, again, in control, no kind of bozo moments, nothing too crazy at all. And I think one of the main standouts for me in the first half really was Urian Timber, who had a bit of a kind of like all action display, really. He was doing some nice overlapping, some nice passing, very aggressive in the tackle as well. Just seemed really, really up for the challenge. Is he ready to take Zinchenko's spot? Most Arsenal fans would say yes. I'm not sure yet, but that's mainly because we've had people come in on the left before and look really, really good, and then they kind of peak early, and then the level kind of drops off a bit. And we saw it with like Tavares, for example, where he came in, looked really, really good for a period of time, but then his tactical new really shone out and his level showed. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Timber. I'm just saying we don't know yet. And also with him coming in and being a right-footed player playing on the left, that's pretty incredible. you don't know if that's going to get an extra few percent out of Zinchenko. So I wouldn't write Zinchenko off yet. Maybe there's another couple of levels that he can go to, but that can only really be sort of exposed or brought out because of Timber coming into the team. So yeah, I thought Havertz and Rice really showed their physicality in the first half. Partey as well had some nice touches, although he was a bit, I think, out of sync with maybe some of the movement of the other players in the first half. It got better in the second half. But I thought Kai Havertz really showed why Mikel Arteta wanted to play him. He was Everything was sticking to him that was going to him up front. He was causing the Man City defenders problems. He was giving them something to think about. And like when you think, when was the last time an Arsenal striker actually gave the City defenders a problem? Something to be concerned about, something they had to really think, okay, what are we going to do here? It hasn't happened, which is why we haven't beaten them in so many games. The last player to do that was Oba when we beat them in the semi-final of the FA Cup. And it was nice to see that happening where, he got booked, but he's got a nasty side to him. So he knew the City defenders knew they were in for a fight. Balls were going up high to him. He was bringing them down on the turn, bringing other players in. He really did everything apart from score a goal in that first half, I thought. So all this nonsense that you're seeing online about, oh, he fluffed his lines, he was terrible, same old Kai Havertz, a load of bollocks, it's a load of rubbish. He literally did everything apart from score a goal. So, and the two chances he had a chance they were both in the first half. One where he rolled the defender, and he essentially had to take a blind shot because his back was to goal, and the goalie got a foot to it. That was a chance. I wouldn't say it was an incredible chance, but it was a chance that he made on his own out of kind of nothing. The second one was from a cutback from Bukayo Saka. It's on his weak foot, it's on his right foot, gets a good contact on it, and it hits a defender. But what people are not mentioning, people are going, oh, he should have scored there, he should have buried it. But he had the goalie, and there were three defenders on the line. So it wasn't like he had an empty goal to shoot at. So I don't know why people are jumping on. Well, I know why people are jumping on that bandwagon because firstly, they're opposition fans and just hate seeing any Arsenal player doing well, or they're an Arsenal fan who was against the signing of Havertz. I was against the signing of it, but I'm not going to try and rewrite something that happened in a game to try and suit my agenda. There's far too much of that goes on online. So fake news. If anyone's talking about how terrible Kai Havertz was, complete opposite. He was really, really good. One of our better players. Shout out to Martin Odegaard as well in the first half. He was a bit quiet initially, but then he just started getting more and more into the game. And, he was just pure silk. You had the kind of pure steel with Declan Rice, and you had the pure silk with Martin Odegaard. It was like a Fabregas type performance, but with just more legs on him. I think he's a bit quicker than Cesc was. So it was really nice to see, but evenly poised at the end of the first half. Going to the second half, and City played better in the second half, I think, than Arsenal did overall. Although there wasn't too much necessarily in it. They were kind of turning up the pressure a bit, and it was one of those games where you felt a mistake was going to decide the outcome. And in probably 99% of these situations, that is what would have happened. So Thomas Partey was a bit rash. He was very tight on Foden, went in on him, and Foden beat him to the ball, turned him, and just left him for dead. And in normal circumstances, Partey would have just tripped him or brought him down or whatever, but he couldn't do that because he was on a yellow card. And we'll come on to the kind of refereeing later on as well. So Foden then had a really incredible kind of lung bursting run, sort of 30, 40 yards through the middle, into De Bruyne, into Cole Palmer, into De Bruyne, who played it in, and Tierney had just come on for Timber, and Tierney kind of clears it, but not really. It goes straight to the Man City player, Cole Palmer just comes in on his left foot. I'm assuming he's left-footed. Tierney shows him on the outside, and it's just a perfect angle. I mean, it's a great finish. Top right-hand corner. Ramsdale had no chance, nothing he could do to save that. And it's 1-0. And it's 1-0 with like 12 minutes to go. And you're thinking, well, that's it. How Arsenal are going to come back into this game? And I had kind of said to myself, well, I didn't want us to get embarrassed because the last few times we've played City, it's just not been competitive. So I was thinking, well, at least it's been competitive. We've put up a fight, and we've shown that we can live with them. But then, fair play to the manager. We really went for it at that point. We went to some crazy formation where we basically just had Saliba at the back and a couple in midfield and the rest up front. And so we decided to kind of go all for broke, really, I suppose. Managed to put some sustained pressure on City, and there was obviously a load of injury time, over 10, 12 minutes of injury. There was injury time within the injury time because there was a head problem with Thomas Partey, another City player. I can't quite remember who. I think it was a Kanji. And Arsenal get the corner. It's played in, comes back out to Trossard, who has the ball, cuts in on his left foot, pings it, hits a Kanji on the leg. Goalie's already diving to try and save the Trossard shot, and it trickles into the net, and it's 1-1. Really, really good play from Arsenal. Sustained pressure. We just brought on Smith Rowe and Vieira, who I thought, they weren't on for very long, but I thought they did really, really well. They both were playing with a purpose, and we were kind of managed to sort of pin City in, really. It is true. We really managed to kind of pin them in for continued minutes, and the pressure paid off. Shout out to Aaron Ramsey, actually, because there were a couple of moments after the 1-0 where he made some really good saves. They were really good saves. They weren't incredible because if those goals had gone in, I think people would have been saying, oh, he really should have got that. But he did what he was supposed to do. And there was one where it kind of, I can't remember the City player, but it came off the bottom of Ramsdale's shoe. He had to get down quick, just missed the goal, good save. And then a Rodri header from the near post. From a corner, and Ramsdale was on wrong foot as well, so it was good reactions there. So we managed to stay in the game. So previously, City have always been able to kill us off. They'll go 1-0 up, we lose our heads, we go too far forward, lose control, change our style of play. City hit us on the counter, or we make a mistake and they're 2-0 up and the game's over. That didn't happen yesterday. It nearly happened, but it didn't happen. We were able to kind of fend that off and have the belief that we're still in this, which was really nice. Which was really, really nice to see. And the last couple of minutes sort of played out. There was a De Bruyne free kick at the end that had me on the edge of my seat, but nothing happened from it. And then it went to the shootout, and you can say our penalty shootouts. Is it tactical? Is it luck? Is it preparation? I imagine it's probably a bit of everything. I'm sure City prepare for penalties just as good as the next team does, though. I don't think that Arsenal will be doing anything that any other teams won't be. Not at that level. And Arsenal held their nerve. De Bruyne, who's only just come back from being out injured since the World Cup, since the Champions League final, hits the bar, so we get the momentum. And Rodri takes a terrible penalty, which was fantastic karma for the way he played. Ramsdale, it was a terrible penalty. Ramsdale, well done, you saved it, you went the right way. But yeah, it was like a yard to your left, so you were meant to save that one. And full credit to Fabio Vieira. A lot of pressure, penalty to win the trophy. I mean, I don't really consider it a trophy, just to put my 2 cents in there. It's like, if we don't win anything else this season, I won't look back and go, oh well, we got one trophy in the Charity Shield. It's not a trophy. It's just not. You don't get a European. You don't qualify for Europe by winning it, do you? So it's, in my eyes, it's not a trophy. It's a shield. And it doesn't mean you don't want to win it. Doesn't mean you don't celebrate it if you win it. But I struggle to say it's a trophy. But fair play to him. He'd missed a penalty against Man United, a really bad one as well. He really skied it, and he scored another penalty though against Monaco, in the shootout there, so that was nice. And he followed it up with the winning one. Beautiful penalty, um, top corner. Goalie had no chance. So that was really really nice to see that for him as well. Um, Great stuff. Great for Declan Rice to get his, you know, I just called it I said it's not a trophy, but now I'm going to say he's got his first trophy for Arsenal. But nice for him to win at Wembley with the fans and stuff. So brilliant day out. In terms of performances, shout out to Ramsdale. He held his nerve. He had one mistake in the game where he was playing it out and he just played it directly to a City player about 30 yards out. Luckily, we weren't punished for it. But that you could see though, you can see why Arsenal are looking to potentially upgrade or um, get him some serious competition with David Raya. He's certainly not untouchable. You know, like Edison is untouchable. Allison is untouchable at Liverpool and City, but Ramsdale's not at that level at Arsenal yet. So, you know, you can see why Arsenal are looking to change that. I thought Ben White overall looked very solid, got forward well, real competitor, a bit of shithousery here and there, which we like to see. And I don't think Timber's going to replace him. I think Ben White is still the first choice right back, basically. I think Zinchenko's got more to worry about than Ben White at the moment. Saliba was just incredible. I mean, I'm running out of things to say about the man. He was just impervious. Haaland did not bully him. Now, that's that's not to say that Haaland's rubbish or anything. Of course not. He's probably the best striker in the world. But yesterday, maybe that extra 2 weeks of pre-season that he needs just showed a bit because Saliba just was able to handle him. Saliba and Gabriel together. Gabriel was steady, nothing crazy in either kind of way. I felt just did his job, did it well. And Timber, I thought was incredible. Very physical, very quick. He's got a good touch on him as well, and seemed quite in tune with his teammates, which was nice to see, considering he's not been there that long. Maybe that's just the Ajax DNA that makes it a bit easier for him to um, get into our way of playing. So moving into midfield, Thomas Partey, I thought he kind of saw the best and worst of him. He's got these really nice sort of feathery touches where he can just play around players, do a little feint, get some yardage on an Oppo player. But also there were times where he lost the ball a bit and was making the wrong moves. Other players weren't quite on his wavelength, but that got less and less, I felt, as the game went on. He was booked very early in the game, 7-8 minutes into the game, and that did kind of restrict him a bit. And it also meant that, you know, when Foden had that run through, Partey couldn't do anything. And we're going to come back to that booking later on. Declan Rice, I thought, had a really good game. You know, he's such a physical presence. There was a moment in the first half where Bernardo Silva was essentially just not running through on goal, but he was heading towards that kind of area. No one around him, and you can see in the frame of the picture just Declan Rice just getting closer and closer. He's run from like quite far in the City half, and he's just getting closer and closer and closer in, and just comes and just nicks the ball off him. Doesn't foul him, beautifully done. Covered the ground like a cheetah, just like boom across. And you look at that and you think, yeah, Granit Xhaka was never doing that. He was not. You're not going to get that from Granit Xhaka. You know, uh, physical presence as well, obviously, and he's only going to get better and better. I read today that he's actually only 75% fit, so I can't wait to see what he's like when he's firing on all cylinders. So that was good. I thought Martin Odegaard was just incredible. Just what? Why can't he play like that every week? Because there are games sometimes when you wonder, oh, you forget he's actually playing. And not yesterday. He had so many nice touches, and touches where passages of play where he was making City players look stupid. You know, he really was just like a matador at times. There's this one moment with Julian Alvarez where he just rolls the ball to him and then away from him and turns. Alvarez just twists his ankles and falls over. People online thought that Odegaard had fouled him. He hadn't even touched him. He just fainted and dummied him, and he tripped over himself. Outrageous skill. Did kind of a similar thing to Kovacic as well. So really, really intelligent play. And yeah, if we're going to do anything this season, then we're going to need Odegaard to keep that level. And that's the level that he's capable of. And he's done it he did it yesterday against the best team in the world. City are still the best team in the world. And Odegaard really, really stood out amongst everyone, really, I thought. Really, really impressed. Saka, not his greatest game. But he kept going. He's just recovering from an illness. But he was dangerous when he got the ball, and he created a good opportunity for Havertz. And he scored his penalty. He did scuff it. Now it went in. The goalie went the wrong way, but it was not a clean contact. And I don't want him on penalties anymore, basically. But anyway, he did what he had to do in the shootout. But overall, in the game, he was okay, I thought. Martinelli, I might be being a bit harsh here. I felt he should have scored. In fact, it was when Havertz had a good chance to score and it hit the City defender, and it came back out to Martinelli. And the problem, you don't know what angle, from the angle of the telly, it looked like there was only really one place he could score, and that was just to bend it into the far bottom right corner. And he kind of didn't do it. He just hit it kind of straight. And you felt maybe if he was a bit more cultured in that moment, he could have just bent it in. Trossard probably would have done that. Odegaard would have just maybe done that. But Martinelli kind of just went for just pure sort of power in that moment, and yeah, he didn't score. So unfortunate for him. And then you had Havertz, who I thought had a really, really good game up front, and I can see why Arsene, I can see why Mikel started with him, because the City defenders have just been eating our attackers, our strikers, the last 2 or 3 years. You know, Jesus didn't lay a glove on them last year, and Nketiah didn't lay a glove on them last year, didn't get anywhere close to causing them any issues at all. And Havertz did more in that game yesterday than the other two Arsenal strikers have in the last couple of years. So, you know, I thought he did really, really well. Don't believe what you're reading online. Trossard came on. Thought he was excellent. It was really, really good. Has a real purpose to him. Scored the goal. Made it kind of out of nothing as well. Had a bit of luck, but you know what you say, you make your own luck. And took his penalty really well. Vieira the same. And I thought Smith Rowe looked just not just obviously interested, but he looked like he had a bit of a purpose. Hopefully Mikel's given him some words of encouragement, because he seemed more confident. Seems more confident than he did maybe towards the end of last season. So great to see him back on the pitch. Onto a couple of other things. There's some changes now. So with yellow cards, refereeing, and time added on. So this is going to be like how it was in the World Cup, where you know you were getting 10, 12 minutes of added time. We had 8 minutes, I think, but then there was an injury during that which took it on another kind of 4 minutes. So teams are not. It's going to be harder to get away with time wasting, essentially. That will hopefully favour Arsenal, because we do seem to be able to score late goals. Hopefully, we won't be in a position where we have to score late goals. Hopefully, we've got it all done by then. In terms of the cards, so that you're getting booked now for kicking the ball away, which makes sense. You know, it is players just do it to allow their team to get back into possession or whatever. Like Alvarez just literally just touched the ball and moved it away when the free kick was given. Instant yellow card. Okay, fair enough. Thomas Partey is booked on 8 minutes for pulling a player back. But then Rodri did exactly the same thing. And I have no idea how Rodri never got booked in that game. Consistent rotational multiple fouling. He must have had 7, 8 fouls. Just didn't get booked. It doesn't make any sense. You know, why are the FA not having someone in the stands reporting to the referee on the ground saying, hey, look, that's the seventh foul that Rodri's done today. There should be, I believe, there should be a mandatory. Okay, you've done your fourth foul, you're getting a yellow card. Doesn't matter how tame the fouls are. If you've done consistent fouling, you should just get an automatic booking. But what do I know? Maybe there's a good reason why they don't do that. But personally, that's what I feel. So I felt extra special that there was all that time added on, because a lot of that would have been done because of the fouls Rodri was doing, and that it was Rodri that missed the penalty. Because really, he shouldn't. I'm not saying he shouldn't have been on the pitch, but he should have been yellow carded, and that's the difference it makes when you're playing on a yellow card. We saw it with Thomas Partey where he couldn't take Foden down because he'd been booked. And if Rodri had been booked, how many of those other fouls could he have got away with? Maybe none of them. But luckily it wasn't a league game or something where there was more on it. But I hope referees look at that and go, yeah, we need to keep an eye on that Rodri, because it's like McTominay. But McTominay and Rodri just seem to keep getting away with it, and I don't know why. Anyway, that's my thoughts on that situation there. So, in terms of the what does it mean? What does it mean to win that game? And people online are so stupid. It can mean more than one thing. You can have two different meanings coming out of a result depending on what side of it you're on. For Man City, what does it mean? It doesn't really mean anything. Guardiola was correct. They've lost the last three Community Shields and went on to win the Premier League. So they're not really going to lose sleep over it. It shows them. They may look at it and go, okay, wow, Arsenal were competitive against us, which we haven't seen for a while. So that's interesting to know. It might have told them something from that point of view. I mean, they lost last season to Liverpool in the Community Shield final, but Liverpool in one-on-one games with City have always been quite competitive. So it didn't really tell them anything, but we just haven't been. We haven't been competitive against City for a long time. So maybe they learned something there, but it has no bearing on what City are going to do in the title race. However, for Arsenal, it means a lot, and not losing to City, because we beat them on penalties. The game was 90 minutes. Not losing to them, it just shows you, okay, we can play these guys and not get slapped. We can play these guys and in a tight game not lose. We can play them, and if we're 1-0 down with 10 minutes to go, we can come back because we've done it. And I think maybe people are underestimating how powerful that is, because Arsenal are a young team, and with some churn of players as well. There were 3 new players starting. Rice, Havertz, and Timber starting yesterday. So it's a big. It can only help, can't it? For Arsenal, it can only help them being in that scenario, beating them at Wembley, beating them in a pressure situation. And City wanted to win that game. If you saw the way they celebrated when they scored, you saw Pep's reaction when they scored and his reaction when Arsenal scored. I'm telling you now, they wanted to win that game. So, it can only help Arsenal when we go into those games against City later on in the season. So, but look, it was nice to win. Nice to finish that. If we'd lost, I think it would have pre-season would have been a bit of a mix. But we've beaten Barcelona, we've beaten Man City, and roll on Forest. That's we've got to hope we get 3 points there, because if we don't, then you kind of think, well, we just wasted all that energy that we've created, that momentum we created by beating City yesterday. So there we go. Thanks for watching. It was a great game. Hope you'll watch the highlights as well, because you always pick up stuff. I've watched quite a bit of the highlights today and picked up on some things that I hadn't quite noticed the first time. But really enjoyed it. If you like this video, please press the like button and please subscribe. And we'll be doing some build up to the Forest game, and hopefully see you soon. Thanks very much.